Hey guys, welcome to the video guide series of the Arce streamer. In this video, I'll talk about the firmware update of the Arce streamer. DENAFRIPS Arce streamer is firmware upgradable. It is not as complex as the FPGA firmware update of the DENAFRIPS deck, thankfully. The firmware update of the streamer can be done using a USB pen drive. Simply copy the firmware file into this pen drive, plug it into one of the USB ports at the back of the unit, turn on the unit, and with the help of the push button on the front panel as well as the LED status on the front panel, we will be able to update the firmware of the streamer to the latest one as we do it right now. Right, let me just flip it to the front and plug in the power cord. As the streamer receives power, the standby LED turns on. Please do not rush to turn on the unit. The purpose of this video is to show you how the firmware can be updated. To update the firmware or to configure the streamer into firmware update mode, push and hold the two buttons in the middle. Specifically, the I2S USB button as well as the source button. At this point in time, press the power button and the streamer will go into firmware update mode. As you can tell from the front panel, the status is different from the startup mode where the setup LED turns on and flashes, and it tells us that it reads the firmware file and currently it is in progress of updating the firmware. You notice the first row LED turn on. It is already progressed. So it goes to the second operation mode where firmware update mode where the second LED of the second row turn on and the first row LED will tell us the progress of the firmware update as we see it. It's kind of difficult to see it in my angle here, so I'm going to twist my head a little bit. Right, DENAFRIPS uses the first row and the second row LED to show us the firmware update progress of the streamer. So currently it is progressing second stage, and the first row LED 1, 2, 3, 4, it tells us the progress in terms of 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So there are 4 stages. The first stage is the second row first LED. There are 25, 50, 75, and 100%. Second stage, again, it is progressing as 75% and 100%, and third stage and fourth stage. As we go through this firmware update progress, you will be able to see the third LED light up and the status goes from 25, 50, 75, and 100%. So it does its job to update the firmware in different stages. So just to reiterate, there are 4 stages of firmware update. By looking at the second row LED, you will be able to know that currently it is in third stage, and on the first row, first LED, it is progressing 25%, and we should be able to see 50%, and later on 75% and 100%. As soon as fourth stage is done, all the LED will light up, and it tells us that when all the LED turn on the streamer, the firmware update is completed, and you may safely unplug the power cord as well as the USB pen drive at that point in time. Please do not disrupt the power as well as the USB pen drive when the firmware update is in progress. So as with all the other devices, firmware update should not be disrupted. If it happens that you lost the power during the firmware update stage, the unit may break and you will need to send it back to us to unbreak before we can send it back to use and use it again. Right, currently it is in fourth stage and the status is 100%. All the first row and second row LED turn on. The device is now completed its firmware update, and you may safely unplug the power cord. I'll first unplug the power cord and followed by the USB pen drive. And if you plan to use the unit right away, you may connect the network cable as well as the power cord. Of course, the digital output to your deck to use the unit. Turn on the unit and the unit will go into startup mode where the input LED flashes from the left to the right, and it takes about a few seconds to start up. The last selected input LED will turn on, which was run, and the network LED will turn on, which tells us that the home network is connected to the unit, and the streamer is discoverable in the home network, and run call, if it is turned on, the run call will be able to stream music through the Arce streamer. Alright, that's about it for the firmware update. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.